I turn now to the only rose among the thorny members of our inner bar, Miss Jamela Aisha Ali, Senior Counsel. Jamala is the daughter of Muntaz Ali, well-known barrister who practiced out of Bio Adams QC's chambers, which is now Macroom and Macroom, up to the year 2000. There, he had a thriving civil practice and some emphasis on property law. Jamla, when she came out to practice in 1989, had been in a small batch of students that did their 2 years at Cave Hill to obtain their degree before completing at U Wooding. Among those I recollect was Diana Incinali, now Justice Incinali. Her return to Guyana saw her ensconced in the Attorney General's chambers, where she later completed her Masters of Laws in Legislative Drafting in the year 1997, before moving into private practice in the year 2002. She moved into the chambers of Mr. Rex McKay SC, which was an excellent choice, where she has continued to practice to the present. Jamla has been very busy at the bar, which accounts for her belated recognition in the once largely male-dominated arena of civil practice at the bar. She's been active both in the Supreme Court as well as the CCJ, where she can claim the distinction of being the most female lead in appearances from Guyana or elsewhere, and where she's had the distinction of lead appearances in the first running down case at the CCJ, Duki and Kaisuko 2015, first lead appearance in a mining case, Wayne Vera and GGMC in 2017. There are many other worthy cases of mention and note. I'll just mention a couple. James Ramsahai versus Linden Mining Enterprise Limited and Bauxite Industry Development Company Limited in 2014. Walter Ramsahai versus Glenn Lal and National Media and Publishing Company in 2016. She has also qualified as a mediator, which is her passion, having trained under international mediators from Canada, United States, and Trinidad. And she holds a certificate for service as a faculty member in advanced mediation training. I think that was in 2008. This has led to training in arbitration, which is the new upcoming concept. When in June 2018, she became a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators in London. Her accomplishments are many, not least in being only the second person of the Muslim faith to obtain this honor, behind her cousin Shalimar Ali Haq, the current DPP. And both as women, recognized for their sterling work and dedication to the rule of law in Guyana.
Honorable Chancellor, Honorable Chief Justice, Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, judges of the Court of Appeal and the High Court, members of the Inner and Outer Bar, other distinguished persons and well-wishers, including those participating virtually. 31 years ago, on the 12th of October, 1989, on the birth anniversary of my father, Mohammed Muntaz Ali, attorney at law, I was admitted to the bar in the presence of my parents before the then Justice Desiree Bernard, who later became the Chief Justice, Chancellor, and a judge of the Caribbean Court of Justice. Today's special full court sitting to be admitted to the inner bar is an extra special occasion for me, as it is the birthday of my dear mother, Shireen Khan. My father would have been proud of me. My mother is not only proud, but elated and wanted to be here in person. I believe she is hearing us virtually. I know many of my friends and other family members are proudly joining virtually. I sat and I listened to Mr. Robin Stobie, Senior Counsel. I must say I'm overwhelmed and humbled by his kind words and compliments. I thank you. In addition to my father, a name that has been called by the two previous speakers, the Attorney General, as well as Mr. Stanley Moore, Senior Counsel. I have to mention Mr. Rex McKay, Senior Counsel, who also played a huge role in my legal career. Since I commenced private practice in 2002, he has been a mentor to me. I wish to thank him personally for making this day possible. There is much controversy on the appointments of senior counsel. Based on the conferrals, it is difficult to discern the criteria used. Much has been said on this matter before, and much will be said unless and until a fair and transparent criteria is established. This is a tenet of good governance. Regarding my own appointment, I wish to thank former President Granger for the announcement of the appointment as senior counsel on the 31st of December 2019. I also wish to thank His Excellency President Mohammed Irfan Ali for issuing the instrument to me as a senior counsel. I also thank the Honorable Chancellor Yonat Cummins Edwards and other members of the judiciary who supported my appointment. On a personal note, integrity, adherence to a valued positions and values are much more important to me than the title of senior counsel. Although these are the very qualities befitting of this privilege, together with the achievements of a legal practitioner. I have always been a strong advocate for law reform and improvement in the justice and legal system, which can only take place with good policy decisions and competent legislative drafting capabilities. We are all familiar with the provision that the appointment of the Chancellor and the Chief Justice is made by the President with the agreement of the Leader of the Opposition. 18 years ago, I delivered a speech at the Ghana Bar Association's first law conference, and I quote from it. Legislation which states that before something can be done or someone appointed, there must be approval or consent of the opposition, will more likely than not lead to a constitutional and political gridlock. This is because the formula amounts to a form of power sharing, and power sharing does not normally produce favorable results, even if the power sharing is disguised in the form of legislation. As an alternative, even if there is a general consensus, particularly by the governing party, to share power, it is expected that the experts would clearly define the power and make provision for the likely situation where the legislative mechanism produces a non-result or a non-meeting of the minds, and I might add, which has been happening in the last many years. The constitution reform process has produced many unrealistic and unworkable solutions without including alternative mechanisms. This unpalatable brew, which has resulted from this process, seems to be the recipe for enhancing political affiliation rather than ensuring the paramountcy of competence. End of quote. Your Honor, the reason I have quoted from this 2002 speech, which was published in 2003 by the UWI Barbados in the Caribbean Law Review, and repeated in 2007 in the Guyana Chronicle newspapers, is because it remains relevant today as we continue to have the disturbing situation of an acting chancellor and an acting chief justice due to the formula put forward by the policymakers. Even more startling is that this provision remains unchanged after almost 2 decades. Might I be permitted to say that the judiciary must always portray impartiality and predictability of rulings, and predictability of rulings must never be based on the advocate appearing, race, or political affiliation. Pre-COVID, I had been advocating for our justice system to synchronize with the Apex Court, the Caribbean Court of Justice, on e-filing and e-service of court documents. Post-COVID, I continue to champion the cause for e-filing and e-service of court documents. In this regard, the Supreme Court has launched a portal for filing documents. This is an excellent initiative by the judiciary. But let it be said that launching is not sufficient. The process must be effective, efficient, and must cater for long-term use. The wind of change is here. Today is testimony to that. Here we are. Some of us are in court physically wearing our masks. Others are part of this historic sitting using the virtual platform Zoom. This effort by the judiciary must be applauded. COVID has ensured that the use of technology has taken center stage. Many years ago, the judicial registry benefited from the digitalization of court documents. Having regard to this, there is no good reason why there is no access to efficient virtual legal searches and inquiries. This lack is a fundamental deficit. In this regard, I must commend the Deeds and Commercial Registry, both of whom are offering virtual services. And I believe this is part of the present Attorney General's goal of striving for efficiency and improved access to justice. I must say that the judiciary, led by the Honorable Chancellor and the Chief Justice, have responded to the COVID pandemic. For example, criminal courts have restarted. There is emphasis on urgent and domestic violence cases. Magistrate courts are operating. Virtual courts, we understand only, yes, they're operating now from the prison. And judges are operating courts virtually. There are many benefits in conducting virtual courts, as we have experienced over the last few months. We've conducted court fixtures using Zoom, Microsoft Teams for undefended divorces, other matters, case management conference, delivery of submissions and decisions. And I dare say that this is the new permanent normal. The exception, I believe, is cross-examination of witnesses in trial matters where material facts are in dispute. This cross-examination ought to be done in person when safety measures can be observed for all involved. The administration of justice and the rule of law is not a one-way dispensation. Members of the noble profession have an obligation not to file and present frivolous and vexatious cases with no prospect of success, not to mislead the honorable courts. And judges must ensure that their decisions are given in accordance with the law, be readily available, and the courts must be prepared to enforce their own orders. Having said that, I wish to thank the Almighty Allah for His guidance throughout my life. I also thank all of those who have congratulated me from near and far. They know who they are. For all your sentiments and compliments of congrats, well-deserved, long overdue, are overwhelming. I must make mention of the Executive Council of the Guyana Bar Association, my team members from Mediation Services International and the Guyana Oil and Gas Consultancy, Inc. I also thank my friends and family members, my brothers Abdul Ali and Mohammed Ravindra Ali, attorney at law, my sister Fawzia, my cousin, the DPP Shalimar Ali Haq, and I recognize her presence here, my niece Janet Adiba Ali, who's also present, attorney at law, and my nephews Mohammed Muntaz Ali, attorney at law, who's also present, and my other nephew Arshad, for their support throughout this journey. I could not end my presentation without thanking my assistant Trudy Cummins for her invaluable support and hard work in managing the law office and my practice. I end by saying I will continue to widen my legal horizon. As Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. And as stated in the Quran, my success can only come from Allah. I thank you very much, Your Honor.